Welcome back to the Freedom Family. I'm Casey Peterson,
And I am Michael Peterson.
and I want to address a question we've been asked quite a few times recently. We've had people asking us why I would leave behind my dream job to pursue this organization, and even a lot of people asking us, do you have a fallback plan? Because we're taking on a massive risk starting this organization, Freedom Families United, and this comes back to, almost a couple years ago now that we sat and started mulling over what we thought the core problem in society was. What is the real core problem? Something that we could actually address and maybe start to fight back on.
And you've probably asked yourself the same question, like, what is going on? Why is everything crazy?
If you haven't, you've probably been asleep. So what we identify as the core problem, and this isn't anything new, you've likely heard versions of this many times before, but there's been this systematic breakdown of core institutions and structures in our society that transferred values to children, and especially structures that strengthen family units and transfer values between family units and from parents to children. And that breakdown, when we identify that, you really realize and fully internalize how deep that goes. We start saying, like, well, who's addressing this? There's a lot of people addressing aspects of this, but that sort of face-to-face meeting and constant instillment of values, we didn't see that happening at a secular level. And we kind of turned to ourselves, well, like, who's going to fix this? And apparently, if not us, then who?
Because it used to be, your schools, your community, institutions, whether that be sports or any number of hobbyist programs, used to support values and those societal, like, decency, basically, those values that we wanted to instill in our families. And many of the people that we talk to, finally after, they understand the core problem, and then they understand what our mission is. They said, oh, you're starting a church. You're starting a secular church.
Yeah,
and we'd say, like, isn't that part of the core problem? That, like, at what point in time did society change and determine that strong families and parents and communities was just a church thing?
Yeah, as
right?
if they have a monopoly on this idea.
How have we come to the point where talking about and living wholesome values is rare? And it's for church folks, Like, when did our community stop supporting each other as family units and as individuals? How did that revert to only church communities?
And for that matter, also, just show me the churches and values-based organizations that are meeting the standards that we're setting here when it comes to a values-based organizations. Those that aren't apologizing for their virtue and their values. Those that are actually living their values, or even talking about all of them openly and unapologetically. I mean, these great organizations do exist, but they seem to be extremely few and far between.
Well, and a lot of them, I think that they don't want to get involved in some issues or values because they're political, right? And
controversial is really what they should be saying.
Well, and right now, everything in society, politics and culture all seem to overlap. And so more than ever, we need church communities and other communities, just freedom-loving communities, to stand up for principles, stand up for values.
And I think that our vision here, the way we envision this, and we envision that Freedom Families United is going to bring together patriots and families around the nation, and they'll be able to participate in one of these communities near them. And it's about taking action and fighting back and building up the next generation, actually living our values.
And if there isn't one that exists in your community, getting a few families together or a few patriots together and creating leadership and starting a branch. And that's what we want to do. We want to provide those resources and help you find facilities and stuff like that to start your own freedom-loving community.
That's right. The resources to strengthen your families, to fight back locally and live your values.
Yeah.
And it really does start with the marriage, because we're parenting children or trying to raise a family in abnormally difficult times, which means you have to have an abnormally strong relationship if you are planning on your children being successful in life. So it does start in the home. It starts with a marriage, and we want to inspire couples to become better, stronger spouses.
Yeah, we want to inspire them to be the pillars of strength that their children need them to be.
Yeah, and you have to ensure that you're actually married to your best friend, and the minute you realize that that might not be the case, fight like hell to fix that,
Yeah,
to change
absolutely.
that.
You have to make sure that your values align.
And if your values and goals are aligned,
Mm-hmm.
then you can actually dream together as a couple and as a family and work together and move towards a common goal. And that common goal, with when we talk about parenting, we have to give you the confidence that you need to become better, stronger parents, and the tools and resources that you need to become better, stronger parents.
Yeah, because especially today, you have to update your approach, it seems, constantly for the new modern day obstacles, whether they're online or in person, that it's a bigger challenge, and we need each other to understand those problems.
And we want to truly empower the family unit to set the right boundaries and goals for your children. And a lot of parents seem to be struggling with that, especially when it comes to social media and all the different consumption habits that children can have. Parents seem almost scared to set the right boundaries and wonder when they're overstepping, when they're going too far, or when they're not doing enough. And it is a very scary balancing act, because if you get it wrong, your child is at risk.
Well, and that's why, you need a very strong support system, and also you need, to have founding principles. You need to have those moral bedrock principles that keep you strong and keep you stable in your marriage and your family and in your parenting techniques. And that's why we have come up with, our 12 founding principles for our organization that we want to live our lives by, and then help others do the same, so that they are shored up on that bedrock moral foundation.
They're a very powerful 12 values. And embedding those deeply within yourself, you and your spouse, I truly believe it would strengthen your relationship and marriage with each other. And then your children embedding themselves in embodying those values would make them the type of person that you'd be proud of, somebody that you would actually want to be best friends with when they get older. But most importantly in this organization, like I've said so many times here in just this video, is actually living those values. Think about how many organizations talk about values, or how many pundits talk about the problem and don't actually go do anything about it. So we would like to be able to, on a weekly basis, distill down all the noise. There's so many things happening, but say, these are the most important, impactful things that will affect your family the most. And so keeping up to date on the most impactful current events and news, and then taking action on those items.
Yeah, we really want to see more people standing together, because courage is contagious. And obviously when you're standing alone, it is a little bit scary, and you don't feel like you're effective. Taking action together as a community and having strength in numbers, we can be impactful and actually change our communities together for the better.
With that focus being on the impact to us and our posterity, whatever current event that we're taking on, it has to be the most impactful thing that we can do for us, for our children, and our children's children. We have to be thinking in those terms for every action that we take, because our time is limited and there's a lot of fights we could get distracted by.
And freedom is a legacy. In America, legitimately, we have been given freedom, and we're about to let it go to waste unless we stand up and do something.
And we have to teach our kids about things, kind of inoculate them to a lot of these things that are going to assault them. You have to arm them with not only these values, but you have to teach them about these things that are going to confront them, like critical race theory or gender and queer theory that they're going to be confronted with, and explain to them what it is. And actually, in order to get inoculated, they have to deeply understand the other side's argument, right? You have to get a little sick yourself before you truly understand what you're up against. So it's not as easy as just saying, oh, there's this thing you need to be aware of, don't do that.
Right.
That doesn't work.
And they're being inundated with this information from all different sources, whether it be in their schools and some churches and different community organizations, but also, teaching them the dangers of this stuff on social media. And
freaking TikTok.
Yeah. And then also in the entertainment industry, videos, books, podcasts, all of those things that they are consuming, we have to create alternatives and teach them how to use their devices as tools.
And just a couple of those 12 values we talked about, like discipline and presence. When you apply those to their devices and media and entertainment, teaching them giving them the discipline they need in order for them to have the freedom and control to free themselves from the addictions of social media, from the addictions of their devices, and teaching them the importance of presence, having presence with the people that you're with, the people you love, giving them your time and attention when you're in the room with them. Just something that simple. Think about how profound that would be with our current generation, with your children, right? Or your grandchildren maybe.
Yeah. So we really want to become an organization that supports the family, builds and revives community, and supports that basic family unit, and then also, continues the legacy of freedom. We want to fight together to do that.
And the core problem, again, I want to reiterate this because it's so important. These values-based organizations and structures in society, and you even look at like books and entertainment, what they used to be and what they are now, they've broken down, and at best, they've gone away. At worst, they've turned directly against us. And rather than talking about it, we're doing something about it. And is this the exact right path? I don't know, but we're going to adjust fire as we go. And if you agree with and support our mission and vision, we would greatly appreciate your support over on freedomfamiliesunited.com. You can join for free at freedomfamiliesunited.com, and we'll give you updates on what's going on locally and what's going on with our organization. And also, you can make a tax-deductible donation. We are 501c3 registered in all 50 states, and it would be greatly appreciated. And we appreciate everybody here listening. And remember, get out there and spread truth, courage, and freedom.